Hello again and welcome to part 11 of Bad Dad by David Walliams. Chapter 30. Countdown. Ye have 10 seconds or I doth use considerable force, announced Sergeant Scoff over the loud hailer. He spun his truncheon round in his hand, looking eager to use it.
You can't drive, said Fingers mockingly. What are you, 10?
I'm nearly 12. Now do what I say if you want to get out of here. 10, came the voice. All of you bundle in the back. Fingers and Dad looked reluctant, but did what the boy said. 9. As the pair scrambled into the back, the boy scrambled into the front. 8.
Budge up,
shouted Fingers to Thumbs as he squeezed himself onto the back seat.
I can't budge up,
moaned Thumbs.
I can't help it if I got a big bottom.
Heaven! With all the 3 men in the back and the boy in the front of the Mini began to rise. Hits! Frank couldn't hide his smile. In spite of all the danger, he was now sitting in the driving seat of Queenie, something he'd waited his whole life to do. 5! The boy put his hands on the steering wheel. He'd never felt so cool. 4! He reached his feet down to the pedals. Disaster! His legs were too short. Dad, I can't reach the pedals, shouted the boy. 3!
I'm going to throttle him,
shouted Fingers.
And when you
Bang!
And when you finish throttling him, I'm going to throttle him some more,
added Thumbs.
2!
They had 1 second to go. Chapter 31. Demolition Derby. Here, mate, cried Dad. Use this. The man pulled off his wooden leg and passed it to the boy.
1!
As quickly as he could, the boy hooked his foot into the elastic strap at the top.
Right,
charge, announced Sergeant Scoff. He began running down the steps, waving his truncheon, a one-man crusade. The boy put his foot down on the wooden leg, which pressed the accelerator pedal. The Mini roared forward. With its front wheels off the ground, the car mounted the bonnet of one of the police cars. Crunch! The Mini crushed the bonnet, and the back wheels rolled over the police car's windscreen. Spin the wheel left, shouted Dad. Frank did what his father said, and the car started driving over the next police car in the circle. All the police officers leapt out of their cars just in time. Now, everyone, lean forward, shouted Dad, and all 3 men in the back threw their weight forwards. The Mini then slammed down onto 4 wheels. Bash! Dad drove over the top of the next police car, and the next, and the next. Crunch, crunch. As the Mini zoomed over them, it left a trail of destruction. The glass in all the windscreens exploded as the Mini's wheels rolled over the cars. Boom, 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 boom. Crunch, and the weight of Queenie crushed the police cars' roofs. Frank had only once been in trouble at school for sneezing loudly in class. Now he was in his very own demolition derby. Scoff looked on in horror as the whole fleet of police cars was turning into scrap metal. As soon as Frank had completed his lap, his dad shouted, "Hard right!" The Mini rolled down the back of a police car and landed on the ground with a loud bump. Sparks flew as the bumper scraped the tarmac. Bzz. Then the Mini flew down the open road. "Woo-hoo!" screamed the boy. Frank had never, to his knowledge, screamed woohoo before, but this seemed like the perfect time. Dad looked on as the speedometer was nudging out of its range. The car was going well over 100 miles an hour. Overhead, the police helicopter was giving chase. "We're not out of the woods yet," cried Dad. "Let me take over now, mate. I can outsmart that chopper." "Of course, Dad." The boy tried to move the wooden leg over to the brake pedal, but it had become jammed on the accelerator. "Dad!" "What, mate?" "I can't stop the car!" Chapter 32. What goes up must come down. The excitement immediately turned to terror as Frank realised they were heading to their doom. With Dad's false leg stuck on the accelerator pedal, Queenie was going faster and faster and faster. "Hold on, mate," said Dad as he clambered over the back seat into the front. As he did so, his stump bashed Fingers' long pointy nose.
What you doing with that thing?"
snapped Fingers. Sorry, called out Dad. He wiggled this way and that to heave himself forward. Frank swerved the car as it went round and roundabout faster than lightning. This caused Dad to tumble back, his bottom squashed right into Fingers' face. What were you doing with that thing? Shouted the henchman. Sorry, called out Dad as he thrust his bottom back onto the man's nose so he could launch himself forward into the passenger seat. Ugh, he cried, sliding down into the front of the Mini. Still, the car kept going faster and faster and faster. Frank was clinging onto the steering wheel, staring forward into the dark road ahead of him. He didn't dare blink. Now they reached the countryside. There were no street lights. It was that real country darkness. The road had narrowed into a single lane with high hedgerows on either side. If there was a car coming the other way, they would all be done for. Overhead, they could hear the police helicopter still following them. Kill the lights, ordered Dad. The boy flicked a switch and the car's headlights were turned off. Now no one could see them, and they couldn't see anything either. Soon the sound of the helicopter overhead became fainter. I think we lost them. Now for the last time, stop the car, shouted Fingers. I'm trying, replied Dad, and he bashed at his own wooden leg with his fist, but it just wouldn't budge. Way ahead in the distance, the boy could make out something on the road. Something pink, something fat, something piggy. It was a pig. Pig, shouted Frank, not sure what else to say on seeing a pig.
How dare you?
Cried Thumbs. It must have escaped from one of the farms by eating its way through the hedge. Perhaps the sound of a helicopter whirring overhead had startled it. No, not you, there's a pig on the road.
Run it over,
said Fingers. I can't kill a pig, shouted the boy.
You eat pork, don't you?
Yelled Fingers. Yes.
Then why can't you run over a pig?
Thumbs looked bemused.
Fingers? Does pork come from a pig?
Yes, shouted Fingers.
Oh, you learn something new every day.
I've done it, said Dad as he whacked the wooden leg off the accelerator pedal. He then scrambled down into the footwell and thumped the brake pedal as hard as he could. It was too hard. The car's back wheels shot up and the Mini somersaulted through the air. Ah! Screamed everyone as they flew for what seemed like minutes, but must have been seconds. Through the windscreen, Frank looked down and stared into the pig's eyes. Both his eyes and the pig's were wide open with horror. The car was flying upside down through the air. Of course, what goes up must come down. The car skimmed over a hedge before landing in a field on its roof. All 4 passengers were dangling upside down as the car skidded backwards across a field full of cattle. The cows were all lying down asleep until the sight of an upside-down Mini speeding along the wet grass rudely woke them up. Mooed the cows as they desperately clambered to get out of the way. All 4 inside the car stared out of the back windscreen. A tall tree was approaching.
Tree,
shouted Thumbs.
Yes, we've seen it,
said Fingers.
Slam the brakes,
shouted Thumbs. We're upside down, said Dad.
Oh, yeah,
replied Thumbs. Chapter 33. Sulk. Hold tight, shouted Frank as he realised they were half a second from impact. Crunch! The back end of the car crashed into the tree and Queenie came to an abrupt halt. Dazed and confused, the 4 hung upside down for a moment before scrambling out of the car. As Frank lay on his back in the grass, he could feel something rough and slobbery licking his forehead. Looking up, he saw that it was a huge cow's tongue. The herd had gathered around the upturned car and were now licking the people back to life.
Moo! Moo!
Get off me! Shouted Fingers, pushing the cow's face away, which only seemed to make the animal want to lick him more.
So what meat comes from these things? Asked Thumbs innocently. Is it chicken?
Fingers sighed loudly. I need everyone's help now, announced Dad.
Lamb?
Guessed Thumbs. Listen, we all need to work together to roll the car back up the right way. Now, Frank, you and I can take this end, and Fingers and Thumbs, but before Dad could finish giving his orders, Thumbs pulled the car up and righted it without any help. It landed on the grass with a thud. Oh, thank you, Thumbs, said Dad. You seem to have done it all on your own. Right, snapped Fingers.
After you two nearly killed us, I'm going to drive from now on. I never get to drive,
huffed Thumbs.
Well, I bagsed it first,
snapped Fingers. I will drive, announced Dad.
Not fair,
grumbled both Fingers and Thumbs. Dad reattached his wooden leg and got into the driver's seat. Look, I'm the getaway driver, so I'm going to drive.
Can I sit in the front seat this time?
Pleaded Thumbs. No.
Can I sit in the front seat this time?
Pleaded Fingers. No.
Why not?
The two henchmen asked. Because if I let one of you sit in the front seat, then the other one in the back seat will moan, and then I'll have to stop the car again so you can swap. It'll all take too long.
Let's go and move on then. We need to be out of Mr. Big's house by midnight,
said Thumbs. Fingers whacked Thumbs around the back of the head.
Oh, what was that for?
Whined the big man.
Don't tell the kid where we're going. It's top secret. Mr. Big's house?
Asked Thumbs. Fingers whacked him again, harder this time.
Oh, I never told him Mr. Big masterminded the robbery.
Another whack.
Oh!
Stop it, the pair of you, or you'll both have to walk, said Dad. Both men got into the back seat and began to sulk. No one likes being told off, especially not hardened criminals. Frank slid into the front seat. The boy was enjoying all this greatly. Don't worry, I didn't hear we're going to Mr. Big's house or that he masterminded this and all your other robberies, he said with a smirk.
Oh, that's good,
said Thumbs.
See?
Fingers shook his head. Quiet, everyone, said Dad, as he tried desperately to start the car. Instead of shuddering into life, Queenie let out a low, grinding noise. Oh, no, said Dad. What? Asked the boy. The engine must have flooded when she went upside down. Oh, the poor old girl won't start again for hours. We're going to have to walk.
Maybe we should call the police,
suggested Thumbs.
See if they can tow us. We're escaping from the police, remember? Shouted Fingers. Oh, yeah. See what I have to deal with, said Fingers to anyone who would listen.
Come on, said Dad. The sooner we start, the sooner we'll get there. At that moment, a bolt of lightning lit up the sky. After a few seconds, a roll of thunder could be heard and rain poured down from the skies.
I think it's raining,
observed Thumbs. Fingers picked up the brown suitcase stuffed with cash. He threw it at Thumbs a little too hard.
Ow!
cried the henchman.
You can carry it. Come on, this way,
announced Fingers, and the four began the long march to Mr. Big's house. Dad and Frank took a last look back at poor Queenie. The rain was pouring down and the yellow paint was running off into the field, revealing the Union Jack underneath. What about Queenie? asked Frank. We'll come back for her, mate, said Dad. Don't you worry. Okay, that's the end of part 11. I really hope you enjoyed Bad Dad. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe as it supports this channel. Thank you, and see you next time for the next episode.